Something is hiding in our solar system. Something enormous. Something that has been secretly pulling on planets, bending the paths of thousands of space rocks, and quietly warping the outer edges of everything we thought we knew about our cosmic home. And now, scientists are closer than ever to finding it. We're not talking about a small asteroid. We're not talking about a dwarf planet like Pluto. We are talking about an object that could be bigger than Jupiter, sitting out there in the darkness, billions of miles from the sun, completely invisible to everything we have pointed at the sky for the last 100 years. NASA knows something is out there. Some of the sharpest minds in astronomy have staked their entire careers on it. And right now, as you watch this video, the most powerful telescope ever built for this purpose has just begun its search. What they find, or what they do not find, in the next 12 months could completely rewrite our understanding of the solar system forever. Let us start with what actually happened. On July 1st, 2025, a telescope in Chile called Atlas caught something moving between the orbits of Jupiter and Mars. A tiny dot, barely visible, routine stuff for a sky survey that scans thousands of objects every single night. But then the computers flagged something wrong. The speed was insane. This object was moving at 137,000 miles per hour. Not fast by rocket standards maybe, but for a space object just drifting through our neighborhood, that is unprecedented. That is the speed of something that did not slow down for anyone. The speed of something that has been traveling through empty, frozen interstellar space for billions of years, building up momentum along the way. Within 48 hours of that first detection, astronomers around the world were looking at the same dot. Within a week, they confirmed the terrifying truth. This thing did not come from our solar system. Its orbital path was hyperbolic. Not elliptical like a comet that belongs here, not circular like a planet. Hyperbolic means it came in on a straight shot from outside, from interstellar space, from somewhere else entirely. They named it 3I Atlas, and it became only the third interstellar object ever confirmed in recorded human history. Let that sink in for a second. In all of human history, across thousands of years of looking at the sky, we have only ever confirmed 3 objects that actually crossed over from another star system into ours. The first was Oumuamua in 2017, that deeply strange cigar-shaped rock that nobody could fully explain. The second was Borisov in 2019, a more normal-looking comet with a bright coma and tail that at least made scientific sense. And then in 2025 came this one, 3I Atlas. But here's where it gets really strange. NASA's Hubble Space Telescope turned its eye on 3I Atlas on August 20th, 2025, exactly 1 year before the date of this video. And what they measured sent a shiver through the astronomical community. The nucleus of this object, the solid icy core at its center, was estimated to be somewhere between 1,400 feet across at minimum and 3.5 miles across at maximum. But the coma around it, the glowing cloud of gas and dust, was enormous. And the glow in front of the object, not behind it like a normal comet tail, was deeply unusual. Harvard physicist Dr. Avi Loeb, one of the most prominent names in astrophysics, went publicly on record to say that if you imagine random objects entering the solar system from all directions, only 1 in 500 of them would be aligned so perfectly with the orbital plane of our planets. 1 in 500. And this one was perfectly aligned. He used a word that no serious scientist uses lightly. He suggested the trajectory could have been designed. Now, NASA itself was very clear and firm on their position. They held a formal press conference on November 19th, 2025, where NASA Associate Administrator Amit Kshatriya stated plainly that 3I Atlas is a natural comet, an ancient icy body born in another star system. Based on its extraordinary speed, scientists estimated this comet may be around 11 billion years old, originating from what is called the Milky Way's thick disk, a population of very old stars that existed long before our own sun was even born. Our solar system is only 4.6 billion years old. This visitor had already been drifting through space for more than 6 billion years before our sun even ignited. 3I Atlas passed within 1.4 astronomical units of the sun on October 29th, 2025. It came no closer to Earth than about 170 million miles in December 2025, and then it left, forever. It will never return. It is now escaping back into interstellar space, carrying with it material from another star system, chemistry from a world born before our sun existed, clues about planetary formation processes we may never see again up close. The page turned before we could fully read what was written on it. But here is something critical. That is not even the main story today. Because while 3I Atlas was blazing through our neighborhood like an ancient messenger from another civilization's early universe, something far closer, far larger, and far more consequential to our daily cosmic reality, has been building in the scientific community, something that might actually belong to our solar system, something that has never left. something that has been quietly hiding out here all along, sitting in the darkest, most distant corners of our cosmic neighborhood, exerting a gravitational pull so powerful and so consistent that it has been secretly reshaping the orbits of dozens of icy worlds for potentially billions of years. Scientists call it Planet 9. And in the summer of 2026, the hunt for it has never been more serious, never been more close to a final answer. Here is the backstory. Because to understand why this is so significant, you need to understand just how strange the clues have been. Back in 2016, two astronomers at Caltech, Konstantin Batygin and Mike Brown, published a paper that shook the planetary science world to its foundations. They had been studying a group of distant icy bodies in the Kuiper belt, the ring of frozen material that exists far beyond Neptune out at the edge of our solar system. And they noticed something that should have been statistically impossible. 6 of these objects, separated from each other by enormous distances, were all pointing in the exact same direction in space. Their orbits were all tilted the same way, clustered together like 6 compass needles, all responding to the same magnetic pole that nobody could see. The odds of that happening by random chance were calculated to be less than 1 in 10,000. There was only one explanation that made any physical sense. Something massive was out there, invisible to current telescopes, pulling all of these objects into alignment over billions of years, like an invisible hand quietly rearranging scattered marbles into a row without anyone watching. Batygin and Brown calculated what this hidden object would need to be in order to produce the gravitational effects they were seeing across the Kuiper belt. The answer was staggering. A planet approximately 5 to 10 times more massive than Earth, located somewhere between 300 and more than 1,000 astronomical units from the Sun. At those distances, one single orbit around the Sun would take between 10,000 and 20,000 Earth years to complete. So even if the planet is moving at a perfectly normal speed for an outer solar system body, it moves with the impossible slowness of deep geological time, utterly invisible to a civilization that has only been watching the sky with modern instruments for about 400 years. Batygin said something that became famous in the planetary science world. He said there were now 5 different independent lines of observational evidence pointing to Planet 9's existence, and that if you remove Planet 9 from the model, you would not solve any problems. You would instantly create 5 brand new ones. Since 2016, the evidence has grown. More Kuiper belt objects were discovered with bizarre, clustered orbits that align precisely with what a Planet 9 would predict. Computer simulations of the solar system with Planet 9, mathematically included, matched the actual, real solar system far better than simulations without it. A second major study showed that Planet 9's gravitational influence over billions of years could explain why the entire orbital plane of all 8 known planets is tilted by about 6 degrees compared to the Sun's own equatorial rotation. A puzzle that had never been explained before. And bizarrely, the model matched perfectly. Then, in 2025, something genuinely stunning happened. A research team led by astronomer Fan went digging through decades-old infrared satellite data. They searched images taken by NASA's IRAS satellite back in 1983 and Japan's Akari satellite in 2006, a gap of 23 years. In that archived data, they found something that had moved, a faint, unidentified infrared source that had shifted 47.5 arc minutes across the sky over those 23 years. At first glance, that sounds small, but when you do the math for an object sitting hundreds of astronomical units from the Sun, that amount of movement corresponds to something real, something physical, something big. When the team calculated what mass this object needed to have in order to be visible at that distance with that brightness and infrared, the answer surprised even the scientists who were searching for it. They had expected to find something the size of a super-Earth, around 5 to 10 times the mass of our planet. What the infrared data suggested was something potentially more massive than Neptune, more massive than a planet that is itself 17 times the mass of Earth and 58 times denser than water. More massive than anyone had expected to find, and sitting somewhere in the range of 500 to 700 astronomical units out, possibly as far as 1,120 astronomical units in some orbital models. The paper was accepted for publication in 2026. It is unconfirmed. The scientific community is appropriately cautious. Old infrared data has noise. Instrumental artifacts can look like moving objects. But the candidate is real enough to take seriously, and it sits in a region of the sky that perfectly matches where Planet 9 should be based, on the Kuiper belt alignment patterns. Which brings us to what is happening right now, right this moment, tonight. The Vera C. Rubin Observatory in Chile has just entered its full operational phase, and it is the most powerful instrument ever built specifically for this kind of wide-field sky survey. It houses an 8.4-meter telescope and a 3.2 gigapixel camera, the largest digital imaging device ever constructed in the history of astronomy. Every 40 seconds, this instrument captures a new region of sky. That data gets transmitted to a facility in California where automated systems compare every new image against a reference template of the same sky region. Anything that has moved or shifted brightness in any way triggers an alert within minutes. Over its 10-year mission called the Legacy Survey of Space and Time, it is expected to catalog roughly 10 billion objects, not millions. 10 billion. The jump in our sky coverage is so enormous that planetary scientists speak of it in almost reverent tones. The Rubin Observatory started sending out alerts in late February 2026. The formal full survey is beginning this year, this summer. And Konstantin Batygin, the man whose 2016 paper started all of this, said in a June 2026 interview that we will get that new batch of discoveries starting this summer, and that it will be a direct test of all the lines of evidence for Planet 9. Test, starting now. Scott Shepard of Carnegie Science put a number on it. He told NPR that Rubin has roughly a 70 to 80% chance of finding Planet 9 if it exists within the predicted search area. Experts say that if it is there, it will probably be identified within the first 1 or 2 years of full operations. By early 2027, the initial data release should contain enough positional measurements to either confirm a detection or to strictly rule out the possibility within the primary search zone. Now, I want you to think about what this means for a second. The solar system you were taught about in school has 8 planets, 4 rocky worlds close to the sun, 4 gas giants further out, then a frozen debris belt, then emptiness. Clean, simple, easy to draw on a piece of paper. But that picture has been quietly breaking down for years. First, Pluto was demoted. Then we discovered that the Kuiper belt is full of complex, strange objects behaving in ways that our models struggle to explain. Then 3 interstellar visitors blew through our neighborhood in the space of 8 years, reminding us that the solar system is not a sealed system at all, but a wide-open intersection on a cosmic highway. And now we have strong, mounting, multi-sourced evidence that somewhere out between 300 and 1,120 astronomical units from the sun, in the absolute freezing darkness where the sun is just a bright star among thousands rather than a warming presence, something massive is orbiting, something that has been there for billions of years. Something that has been quietly doing gravitational work on the outer solar system the whole time humanity has existed, and for billions of years before humanity existed, and that we are only now, right now in 2026, pointing the right technology at to finally find. Here is one more detail I want you to sit with. Our solar system is missing a type of planet. Nearly every other planetary system we have discovered in the galaxy has planets called sub-Neptunes, or super-Earths, worlds with masses between Earth and Neptune. They are actually the most common type of planet in the Milky Way. But our solar system jumps directly from Earth mass worlds to Neptune, which is 17 times Earth's mass, with nothing in between in the region we have thoroughly surveyed. That gap is suspicious. Many planetary scientists think our solar system started with a 5th giant planet in that mass range, and that during the early violent period of the solar system when Jupiter and Saturn were migrating to their current positions, the 5th planet got gravitationally scattered outward, thrown into a vast, distant orbit from which it has never returned. Planet 9, if it exists, might be exactly that world. The planet our solar system forgot. The one that got thrown away billions of years ago and is still slowly orbiting in the outer dark, waiting to be rediscovered by the civilization that eventually evolved on one of the worlds it never quite managed to destroy on its way out. That is the scale of what we are talking about. That is the depth of this story. In the months ahead, as Rubin Observatory's giant digital eye sweeps the southern sky night after night, stacking up terabytes of data and running orbital calculations on tens of millions of moving dots, something is going to happen. Either the signature of a massive distant planet will emerge from the data, or it will not. If they find it, it will rank among the greatest astronomical discoveries in all of human history. Greater than the discovery of Neptune, which was itself found in 1846 by calculating where it should be based on gravitational disturbances on Uranus. Greater than the discovery of Pluto. This would be a new world in our own solar system that has been hiding for billions of years, finally dragged into the light. Every space agency on Earth would immediately begin long-term planning. What does it look like? How massive is it exactly? Does it have its own moons, its own ring system, its own strange frozen atmosphere warmed ever so slightly by the sun, at a distance where the sun is just a particularly bright star? What clues does it carry about the brutal, chaotic early history of our solar system when giants roamed and threw rocks across the sky? And if Rubin does not find it within the primary search zone, that too would reshape astronomy, because we would then face a crisis in our models. 5 separate gravitational puzzles in the outer solar system, each one strange enough to demand an explanation, and suddenly no single explanation to connect them all. Alternative theories would have to scramble forward. Dark matter effects, modified gravity, statistical flukes in a small sample of Kuiper belt objects. None of those alternatives are currently convincing enough to compete with Planet 9. Ruling it out would force a reckoning. Either way, we are at a turning point, a real one, not a metaphorical one, the kind that only comes a handful of times in the entire history of science, a moment where the next observation, the next data release, the next moving dot in a telescope image could change the textbooks, could change how we teach children about our place in the solar system, could change the map of everything we live inside. The solar system is bigger, stranger, older, and far more active than we ever imagined. Ancient comets from other star systems swept through our neighborhood in 2017, 2019, and 2025. One of them was 11 billion years old, born before our sun existed, a ghost from the universe's early chapter. A massive hidden world may be orbiting our sun right now on a path so vast that every civilization in human history has lived and died without watching it complete even a single orbit. And the single most powerful wide-field telescope ever built for finding exactly this kind of object is pointing at the right part of the sky tonight, collecting its data, running its algorithms, hunting. Whatever is out there in the darkness beyond Neptune, bigger than we expected, older than our world, stranger than our current models allow for, it is out there. It has always been out there. The clues have been mounting for years. The technology has finally caught up with the question. And we are about to find out if we are truly alone in our own solar system, or if something massive has been sharing it with us all along. Think about this one final thing before you go. When Galileo pointed his small telescope at the sky in 1610, he discovered the moons of Jupiter, not because they had just appeared. They had been there for billions of years. He found them because he had the right instrument for the first time. When astronomers in 1846 calculated that something was pulling on Uranus and predicted exactly where it should be, and then pointed a telescope there and found Neptune, it was not luck. It was that finally the math and the machines had caught up to what reality already contained. And when 3i Atlas swept through our solar system in 2025, we did not find it because it was a special visitor who chose to show itself. We found it because we had finally built systems sensitive enough to catch the kind of visitor that probably passes through every few decades, but always slipped by unseen before. We are not living in a moment where the universe is revealing new things. We are living in a moment where our instruments have finally become powerful enough to see what was always already there. And what was always already there is turning out to be so much larger, so much stranger, and so much more populated than we ever dared to imagine. Planet 9, if it exists, has been orbiting our sun since before the first dinosaur took a breath on Earth. 3i Atlas has been drifting through space since before there were any stars complex enough to have rocky planets with life on them. The Kuiper belt has been shaped and reshaped by gravitational forces we are only now beginning to fully map. And somewhere out there, past Neptune, past Pluto, past the scattered disk, past the inner Oort cloud, at distances that make Neptune look like a next-door neighbor, something is out there. The data is coming. The telescope is running. The summer of 2026 is when Batygin himself said we will get our first direct test. The next year or two will tell us whether our solar system has been hiding a secret for 4.6 billion years. Stay watching the sky, because right now the sky is watching back, and it has a lot to say. Let me give you the numbers one more time, because the numbers in this story are unlike anything in normal human experience, and I want them to land properly. 3i Atlas was moving at 137,000 miles per hour when it was discovered. At its closest to the sun, it accelerated to 153,000 miles per hour, the fastest any visitor has ever been recorded moving through our solar system. It passed just inside the orbit of Mars. It came no closer to Earth than 170 million miles, nearly twice the distance between the Earth and the sun. It was only 3.5 miles wide at most, a tiny rock, an ancient ice ball, and yet every major space telescope humanity has built was pointed at it. Hubble watched it, James Webb watched it, missions orbiting Mars watched it. Because in the entire history of recorded science, we have only seen three things like it, and the chance to study material from another solar system up close, to examine the chemistry of a world that formed somewhere else around a star that may not even exist anymore, is so scientifically priceless that every resource gets mobilized. In Planet 9, the thing hiding in our own system, conservative estimates put it at 5 to 10 times Earth's mass. The 2025 infrared candidate suggests it may be closer to Neptune's mass, meaning 17 times Earth's mass. It sits somewhere between 300 and over 1,000 astronomical units from the sun. One astronomical unit is 93 million miles. So we are talking about an object sitting somewhere between 28 billion and 93 billion miles from the sun. At those distances, sunlight takes between 41 hours and 14 days just to reach it, traveling at 186,000 miles per second. The sun, from Planet 9's surface, if it has a surface, would look like just another star in the sky, a slightly brighter one, but just a star. And yet, despite that impossible darkness and distance, its gravity reaches all the way back to the Kuiper belt, 250 astronomical units closer to the Sun and organizes the orbits of dozens of icy bodies into a pattern that physicists can calculate and predict. Gravity does not care about distance the way light does. Gravity reaches. Gravity remembers. And the pattern it has left in the outer solar system is our breadcrumb trail back to a world we have not found yet. The Vera C. Rubin Observatory's camera captures so much sky in a single image that if you printed one of its photos at normal photoprint resolution, it would need to be 170 feet tall to show everything in detail. It captures images 40 times larger than the full moon in a single shot. And it does this every 40 seconds, scanning a new patch of sky each time, building up a movie of the entire southern sky changing night by night. Anything that moves gets flagged. Anything that blinks changes brightness. Anything that wobbles or shifts or appears where nothing was before triggers an automated alert within minutes of the observation. If Planet 9 is in the predicted zone, this system will find it. It almost cannot miss it. The summer of 2026 is when this hunt finally gets a definitive answer.